I decided I'd give a try at video critiques. That way I can show things easier and kind of demonstrate uh, things more easily. This is Mario Hall's submission. Hi, Mario. Um, and you can see it's submitted here, and then like a few of you have been having this kind of odd problem is that we've been getting some errors when people uh, don't delete history off their surfaces before they turn them in. So once he did that, you can see there's no history here. I believe it solved the problem. So face is looking pretty good, body's looking okay. Obviously you still need to model the hands, so get going on that. And let's take a look at the face, F for frame selected. And so far it looks okay, but I like to really check things in rough mode, that is by clicking 1. And the first thing I noticed is some sort of strangeness around the mouth. What you want to have going here is loops around the mouth, and somehow in the modeling of this you don't have loops. So I should be able to select an edge, double click it, and it should go all the way around. And for example, that's not going to work because this ends here, it sort of terminates there. So and it gets tricky to fix this. And the other thing I'm noticing right away is, see this face, that is greater than a four-sided faces. So you really want, in an ideal model, everything is four-sided faces. You're probably going to have some triangles, but you certainly don't want this, which is, if I switch to edges, right mouse click edges, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See, this is actually 2 edges there. So it looks like you actually at one point had an edge there, but deleted or somehow removed it somewhere along the line. So that's how that face got messed up. So if I wanted to fix that, I think I'll turn on symmetry first. So select an edge. And by the way, I'm using my 2015. I think this going forward, what I think will help me out is if you can tell me what version of Maya you're using. I am officially recommending 2015 for this class because the tutorials I recorded in 2015, and so it can be confusing to use the new one because it's hard to find menu items. But I'm happy to demonstrate in the newer ones as well if that's what you're going to use. But it's easier if we just use 2015. So, and I'm not going to try to fix everything on this model, but just to give some examples. So, I'm going to turn symmetry on with that selected, and then multi-cut, and then I'll just probably, click here and see how it just snaps right there. Enter. And now what we have is this face here is now, oops, let's get out of the multi-cut tool. So that's now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, like I said, you might need to try. And then here's another one. So see this one again. If you select edges, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So a lot of faces here. I mean, one of the things we wanted to get was sort of the crease going down here. So it's going to be tricky to kind of piece this back together afterwards. But I'll just kind of peck away at it for a little while, and then you can kind of take it from here. I might start here. I can see that one, should be going through there, and then I end up with these triangles that I don't really need. And see if I can get rid of some edges. So I'm going to hit Q for selection mode, right mouse click, select edge, and then to delete edge, you don't just hit delete. This is an important distinction here. Let me show you guys this. If I hit delete, it'll get rid of these edges, but it'll keep those as 2 separate ones. So here's the wrong way to do it. I'm going to hit delete. Oh, fine, I got rid of those edges, right? Yes, but it leaves this mess behind here where you have these 2 edges. I'm going to undo that, select those 2 edges, Control Delete, or Edit Mesh, Delete Edge Vertex. You can see Control Delete. Now the edge that is left behind looks sound. And so you can see that's already starting to help me look like more of a, I can get loops going around the mouth. I think we've got, yeah, like I said, this is going to be pretty hard to kind of pick apart. there's some kind of little mess going on here. Pull that in a little bit just to see what's going on. And let's see where the kind of the loop terminates. So let's see what happens if we kind of continue the loop there. Sometimes it helps just to start taking some stuff out. And then you can always put it back in. Control delete. I don't want to do that, but okay. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. Yeah, and clearly here's this, multi-sided surface here, so it's like I don't know what to take out and put back in. Let's see if it lets me delete those. Control delete. That makes a many-sided face, but then maybe we can put an edge more where we want it. And then now that I've done that, maybe I'll take these edge, control delete out. And here's this other one here. Yeah, so control delete. And then put this back here. Kind of cleaning this up. So I'm trying to get the loops back around the mouth just bit by bit. But it's tricky. So, oops, didn't mean to do that. Yeah, I mean, I know, and meanwhile I'm removing a lot of the detail in your model, but I'm trying to get the shape back. The topology correct. Yep, so we're still not there. I mean, we've got this triangle here again. Let's just kind of keep taking away until, yep, see now this is let's hook that back up there. Because that's, I lost symmetry for some reason, don't know why. Now is it a loop? No. So, I mean, but you can see it's starting, the topology is starting to make a little bit more sense, starting to get back around here. Sort of not finding, I mean, the key is to kind of not lose those. So that loop is working. This one terminates here. And let's just check 1, 2, 4 sides there. Don't know why it doesn't want to go up here. What happens if I take these guys out? Yeah, that's probably going to be bad. I'm going to undo that. Anyways, it's starting to get a little clean up, and then, then when I add stuff back in, maybe I can add it back in as loops. So the idea is to have those loops to begin with, and then when you want to add more details, see how I can add a loop, going all the way around here. So actually what I might be able to do is sort of put this one in, which is kind of a complete and sound loop, and then take this out. See how that works. I just shift double click there, control delete, and so now I can add another loop here, and then start adding modeling in the detail by moving these points around. And again, I can't spend hours and hours on every single model, but I think hopefully you're starting to get a little bit of an idea how I can clean some of this stuff up. Look for those 5-sided faces. There's a trick to find what they call n-sided faces on your surface. So if I let me go to right mouse click, choose face, and whoops, didn't mean to click that. Okay, so I've got them there. I just did it a second ago, but let's deselect that. So if I go to select using constraints, and let me do it on my next selection, and where it says order, turn on n-sided. So you see we have triangles, which are 3-sided faces, quads, 4-sided faces, and n-sided everything else, right? 5 and more. So then I select everything here, and now what it's done is it's selected everything that has more than 4 sides. So that's a really good way to go in and see what you need to fix on your model. Is you really want to stay away from these 5-sided faces. It means you won't be able to use edge loops with them. If you smooth it, you'll get odd results. They're just problematic, so you don't want those 5-sided faces. So you just kind of go in and start looking for ways to split these up and see what you can figure out. You can try deleting faces, and then now I can put that back in. I'm sorry, I said faces, I meant edges, as 1, right? And that fixed that one. So now if the next time I do this, see, that's no longer a problem one. And then just go in and, is that, where's the extra face here? Ah, right there. So I could do the same thing there, delete it and then add the edge back in, etc., etc. And just going through and clean it up. You're going to have to, put a hole in here and oh, I'm startled. Let's reset this. Sorry. That's messing me up now. Yeah, so definitely turn that off when you're done with it. Yeah, I mean, I don't spend too much time. Where's up with my selection? Oh, it didn't reset. Okay. I thought, no, I'm sorry. I just hit reset. I didn't hit disable all. So when I hit disable all, that resets all of them. Good to know. Now my face selection is working. So you'll have to cut a hole in here and, and then kind of get these to, delete those off the bottom and then try and line these up and then either, get the number of edges to be the same either by, removing some from one or adding some to the other or some combination of the two, and then get that all hooked up before you start adding any more detail, because it'll just make that process harder the more edges you have to deal with. Yeah, that's Mario. So I'm going to go on to just a quick note to everyone here. It's good to post work in progress, but always post your myosine file, because there's just a limit to what I can look at and check on if all I have is an image. So here we have Yuri's Flopsy the Bunny, and he even posted a little video, which is a nice touch. Oh, and by the way, I noticed people are kind of saving it with names all over the place, and you should really get in the habit of having a consistent naming convention. And you'll notice in the description of all the assignments, it should always tell you the naming convention, and it's not. Okay, well, that's an error on our side then. So always include your name in your file name. So what would be great is to have, in this case we're assignment 4.1, right? Yeah. So just do something like assignment 4.1, Yuri. I don't want to mispronounce your last name, Thibault or Thibault. And that would really help me out if all of you guys used the assignment number and your name and your naming convention. So let's go ahead and open this up. So this is looking really advanced for this class. You can see it's already very detailed, very smooth, really even topology. It's really kind of above and beyond anything I'd expect at this sort of more beginner level class. I'm guessing you downloaded these because they're triangulated. Apologize if you didn't, but it's not that big of a deal. Um, because I'm not really expecting you to do props like that. But probably denser than I would have liked at this stage. If you still have the history on it on your file at home, you can take that off. But I mean, this would be usable, this dense, so it'd be okay. But and these are grenades, I guess. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's great. I mean, it's really good. Um, and is everything part of the same surface, or are things tacked on? You can kind of look from the inside, and yeah, it's kind of one nice single waterproof sort of surface. So I mean, this is great. I guess one thing I would say is you do not, you wouldn't want the eyeballs part of the same surface, so I do mesh separate. See if it separates it for me. There we go. Because we're going to want to be able to center the pivot. Modify center pivot. We're going to want to be able to move the eyeballs and look around. And so generally, I wouldn't combine separate surfaces like that. You've got 6-pack apps here. And, that's an area, you've got triangles, you've got this many pointed stars, which isn't, great topology, but, oh, they're not triangles. Actually, they're all four-sided faces, so that's good. So, it's fine, for especially in an area like that, there's not always a way around that. Yeah, really good. Are these separated, these toes, or are they pressed together? One trick I have is select one vertex and you do it's the greater than symbol, so it's like shift period, and it'll kind of grow your selection. So I'm just kind of seeing, I can then hold down D and move this pivot point back, and then I can kind of rotate this out. Okay, so those are connected there. I mean, I don't know exactly how bunny paws work, so maybe they are connected like that, but I would tend to have the toes separated just to be able to move them independently, so that there's a seam in there rather than having connected here. But if you have no intention of kind of spreading the toes out, then that's not a big deal. And then another area I might work on a little bit is the fingers here. They don't have a lot of sort of form or shape to them, so kind of getting us a little bit of a sense of the different pads, maybe a little bit of sense of knuckles on the top, also different lengths. So maybe the middle finger is the longest, and then the index and ring fingers are different lengths. So the thumb is looking sort of a little squeezed and flat here, so you probably want to work on that a little bit. But all in all, this is, it's great. It's really good. If you want to be able to close the eyelids, you might end up needing more edge loops. So for example, if I take this and just as a very kind of rough, this isn't really how you close an eyelid, but I can hit B for soft select and hold down B and then click and drag to the left to kind of shrink that a little bit, and then R for scale, and then kind of go like that. It just sort of gives you a sense of the topology you have to work with to close the eye. So yeah, actually I think there might be enough there right now. Generally the bottom lid doesn't really move as much, it's more the top lid that's moving. So yeah, I think you're all right. So anyways, just really great work. You can see, a lot of detail on the lips here. I would have had the teeth be a separate surface, with keep the mouth shape more simple, and rather than extruding the teeth out, I would have had them just kind of poke through the mouth, like they do in reality. But because when you start moving the lips, you can have a hard time having the teeth not move with them, and a lot of our lips movements obviously don't have the teeth moving with them. So and this will be a little bit work now, but if you want to kind of delete those faces out and kind of patch that back over and then add some teeth that are independent of that, it might be better off later when you're trying to animate it. But you'll notice he's got the edge loops going around the mouth soundly, and yeah, again, you can kind of see it moving here, and I can tell that's going to work pretty well. Looks good. So yeah, obviously this is not the way you do it, but just it's a quick way to test something. So great work on this one, Yuri. Good job. We've got Mark now, and hi Mark, how you doing? And so here's his character so far. So it's still, it's got some detail to go. We still have the history here, which is, as long as it doesn't break anything, that's okay. And the face is looking kind of interesting. It's got some character. Again, I don't know why I keep finding people combining their surfaces. I don't think you should be doing that. So I'm just going to go ahead and mesh separate. Let's always check things in rough mode. And here you can see, part of the reason I like you to check things in rough mode is you can see where things, if they look a mess here, they're going to be sort of trouble later. And even in smooth mode, we can see overlapping surfaces on the ears. You see kind of, these kind of things intersecting. But in rough mode, you see that it's really just a little crazy right now. So it should work. And if you're pulling to stuff to this kind of extremes, like here's a good example of, let's go ahead and turn on symmetry on this guy. Turn off B for smooth select, turn that off. No, it's not symmetrical. So not sure why it looks. Oh, yeah, look right here. I can even see right there. It's not symmetrical. So yeah, that's the first thing I might do, and this is kind of a good thing to go over, is kind of remake the symmetry on this guy. So I'm going to go to the front view, and I hold on the space bar for hotbox, click in the center, go to front view. Oh, that's the side view. That's a right view, I guess. Control Alt to get that. Oh, well, let's go to left view. All right. And try to very carefully pick just one side of him. Whoops. Why did it select those surfaces? Okay. And I really got to check my work here, and yeah, that mustache is a separate surface, so really go around, and this is a bit of a messy area there, and this, need to be cleaned up, and just double check that you definitely got along the center line and nothing else, okay, and I'll go ahead and delete that half. Okay, now I want to make sure, gotta get used to that. Usually the front view is the front of the character, and you can see pretty quickly that I don't have my grid on, but yeah, well, that's certainly not on the center line by any stretch of the imagination. So that's really going to make everything harder. So in this case, normally I wouldn't move the whole object, but in this case, I'll start by moving the object, to get it to where this stuff is closer to the center line. But then you can see just a lot of stuff is not at the center line. So I'm going to do edge, double click here, and that gets that edge there. And then what I should be able to do is in this little area right here, make sure this is set to absolute transform, and set the X, in this case, sorry, it's the Z direction because he has this thing turned. I can tell because, RGB, X, Y, Z, and the X is red and Y is green, and so the only thing left is the Z, which is yellow now because it's selected. So if I type in 0 here, let's hope this works. I'm going to go in the, whoops, undo. Go in the front view just to keep doing that. Yeah, let's type in 0. Make sure we're in move mode, which we are. 0, enter. Okay, good. That looked right. Do you see how that jumped to the center? So now it's perfectly along the center line, all of that. Good, good, good. might be a good opportunity to make sure, see the pivot point is not at the center, so I'm going to hold, be in move mode, hold down D and X, middle mouse drag, snap it to the center, great, and then mirror. And unfortunately, I probably should have moved these features over at the same time, but maybe we'll just, make another pass where I duplicate those guys over. And anyways, let's move this over here. Might be able to see what I moved it 0.132. Let's try that with these guys. In the Z direction, 0.132. Whoops, sorry, that was scale. Wrong one. 0.132. There we go. Is that what it was? Yeah, I think so. Good. And then I guess the same for you. 0.132. Okay, good. Yeah, so I just had looked at this one and just typed the same thing in. And now, oh yeah, so let's go ahead and mirror it. So I can try using the mirror function itself, or we can do it manually. So mirror geometry options. This is the Z direction. Remember, that's the positive Z because the blue arrow is pointing that way. This is the negative Z, so we're going in the negative Z direction. We want to merge with the original and merge vertices. Let's hope it works. And looks pretty good, I think. Yeah, from what I can tell. Okay, so now, see, it sometimes will do that to you, which kind of is not what we want. So let's do the manual one. For the manual one, and it's essential in the manual one that I do have that pivot point at the origin, and that I'll go ahead and freeze transforms, modify. I don't really need to do it right now, but your scales definitely have to be at 1, 1, 1 for this to work. So Control D for duplicate, and this is the Z direction, so we're going to scale it in the minus Z direction. And see, I'm not getting that kind of weirdness with the center of the mouth now. But now I'm going to go Mesh Combine, and then select all the vertices of the character, and then Edit Mesh, Merge Components Options, and it's, the threshold is how far they have to be apart for it to merge. So that's a very small number, 0.01. So if that was a big number, like, I don't know, a couple of these would merge together, but since it's a very small number, and we always merge with two vertices, that should get rid of it. And if you just want to check that it did in fact merge along the center, oh, we've got something going on here. Let's take a look at that, but let's just look at some other one like this one. Make sure I just have kind of control select that. If I click on the CVs, I can see there's just one CV selected. Like if I went like that, you can see that there's multiple CVs selected. So I know that it did successfully merge. Yay! Okay, so now we've got a model that should have symmetry work, and I can try to remember whatever it was I was doing a few minutes ago. Modeling toolkit, symmetry, no error, because we just mirrored it. So that is good. Oh, it did do this that we don't like, but that was, I think, that might have been some of the weirdness from before. So let's move these up, see if we can kind of pull this stuff apart. So that might have been from the way I merged it, or it might have been something that was an issue before, but I'm going to grab multi-cut in here, and oh, it doesn't want to. Oh, do we have extra edges on here? Yeah, there's just a bunch of funny stuff going on. No, it seems four-sided. Yeah, I might turn off symmetry for a second just to be able to cut across here a little more easily. And then I can go ahead and select these and then Control Delete. And then that sort of fixes that topology. So now we're back to having hopefully edge loops. That terminates here, but anyways, that's better. Oh yeah, and then yeah, you've got this really tight stuff going on in here. Oh, let's turn our symmetry back on now that we're kind of messing around. Yeah, so look out for those. Just, sort of anything that's like really pinched like that should kind of read as a sort of a warning sign for you, like just avoid anything that looks like it's a really pinched or squeezed or really stretched out face. And oh yeah, I remember I was talking about these things way back before I started the whole mirroring adventure. So just make sure I didn't select anything else. Okay. So yeah, this was that example where it was like, you pull this way back to get that shape, and you should never, if you're pulling something that far back, you're just going to want to find a way to add detail. So just, get this back forward, and then, look for other ways to kind of add that. Maybe you need another edge loop going around, you need to adjust those points accordingly. So, yeah, and I think, to mirror these guys, a simple way to do it is Control G group, and then Control D for duplicate, and then scale that in the -1 for Z, and that'll put that over to the other side. Oh, so yeah, we were saying the legs had gone a little berserk. And I was saying, let's just. I don't know exactly. Oh, a little kind of. It's kind of acting a little slow there. I don't know exactly what happened here. It's kind of a mess. So I sort of didn't want to see how it's like this one face, is like super long. It's like he took one corner and pulled it all the way down to the bottom, and I sort of didn't want to try and sort out that mess. So I just thought, oh, let's just delete the whole things off, and then yeah, and there's some other multi-sided faces here, but let's just go ahead. I was going to show if you wanted to extrude these out, you just select those edges and extrude face, and don't use this manipulator. I call this like the channel changer. Click this little guy, and then you can just pull these straight down. To get your legs kind of a little normal. It'd probably be better to clean up some of that other stuff first, but let's just keep going. So, and then at this point, let's see if I scale here, I can get those kind of flat to make them a little cleaner. And then grab my multi-cut tool. And then control, and now we've got our edge loops back to normal. Double clicks again, right, R for scale, and then drag that down, make that flat again. And now that the topology is sound, now you can start adding more loops and shaping the legs and stuff. But the topology was a mess before, so I wouldn't have tried to fix it there. Yeah, and then again, just in this rough mode, just be looking for these kind of anything that's overlapping. Just sort of try and pull that apart, and yeah, it's just a little wacky here. So I'm just going to try to, if you're getting your shape by stretching things at such an extreme that the surfaces are intersecting and you don't have nice looking topology, it's probably going to be a problem. So just try to start with the kind of clean looking topology, and then add detail. And if you have to add loops to put the detail in, you have to add loops. But don't pull things to a string, and don't spend too much time looking things at smooth mode, because that's where you run into these kind of problems. So anyways, obviously I can't do everything in the model, or this video is going to be 20 hours, but yeah, try to pull apart this mess here, you might, again, kind of like what I did with the leg, you might have to extrude out a new thumb to clean that up. And this hand I might start over with because there's some wacky stuff going on at those edges and stuff, and you'll need more details for the knuckles and all that. But yeah, I mean, it's coming along. It's not, it needs more work, obviously, but you're on your way to a usable character. Now we have Joseph. Yeah, I mean, this just right from the start looks really good, and look at how much shape and detail he got without that dense of a model. This is impressive because it's, you're looking at smooth mode obviously versus rough, but look at, you really got a lot of nice shape in here, really kind of good curves and all that stuff. But it's not the dense model that I see a lot when people smooth it a bunch of times. So, and once again, I don't know why everybody keeps combining stuff. We are going to want to move. One piece. Oh, maybe it was just parented. Oh, I'm sorry. I accused you of. I assumed it had been combined, but you had just. Looks like you had parented the. So rather than parenting, I'm going to do Shift P to unparent those. I would tend to group them rather than parent one surface to another. You can run into funny problems there. So yeah, I mean, I think you can start. I mean, this is really good. It's a really sound surface. I think that you can. I might just smooth this guy evenly. I mean, I guess as far as areas to improve, you could probably get a little bit more shape going on in the feet. They're looking pretty blocky and sort of flat on the sides, and kind of, go ahead and give that a little bit more shape and detail. And think about, how on a foot, like, the big toe towards the center is sticking out the furthest, and then the other toes kind of curve down there. Um, and again, you don't have to model out the toes, but I'm just saying the other thing is that from the side, um, the foot should kind of get narrower as it gets to the front. So those are a couple things you could do with the foot. And again, you don't have to do the toes. It's fine. Yeah, the face is great. It just has a lot of character to it, and it's not sort of too complex, but this is just, it's really good. I mean, honestly, I don't have that much to critique on it because you've done a good job. I think that it is something where you're gonna probably want um, more topology to work with when you're kind of wanting to do the eyelids again, like I was showing before. So in this case, I actually might say, and again, I do this with like reserve this for when models are really kind of coming along nicely, but I might just go ahead and smooth it one level, and now it's going to give you a little bit more detail there to work with. And if you wanted to go in and touch up the model more, and now you have kind of a little bit more eyelids to work with, where you can. I was showing that before, where I hit B and hold down B and click and drag, and this is not how you would actually shut an eyelid, but it's just my sort of really quick and dirty test to kind of see if there's a topology you need. Whereas before we smoothed, I'm just undoing, there's not, I mean, I suppose I could grab onto that edge and um, it's just there's not that much to work with. So I think, yeah, go ahead and smooth it one level, and if there's areas you don't like after you smooth it, kind of touch them up. I think this, you might be going a little bit deep with this crease. And again, when you look at the rough mode, look for those extremes. Look for stuff that looks really. And when I look at that, how kind of deep that thing is pulled in, I'm like, that's a little bit of a red flag to me. Um, so I would pull those guys out some, don't go quite so far. And then, if you want more of that back later, after you smooth it one layer, you can maybe push it a little bit when you have a little bit more topology there. But yeah, just look for those really big extremes. And again, here, like, really push these out to get that. So, do move those in little bit. And I don't think I'm losing too much of the shape of the face by doing this stuff, but just look out for big extremes. You've got some intersecting faces here. I'd want to prevent those from intersecting. So I'm just switching back and forth. Move these guys up a little bit. Yeah, so just look out for these extremes. I think, you know, that might be okay. I might pull that forward a touch, and um, I mean the other thing is when you see something like these are really narrow and those are much wider. Sometimes that's a sign to me that something can move up or down. So for example, I might one nice trick is to take. Oops, didn't mean to hit that. Take something like these. And if I turn on transform constraint and surface slide, it won't, it'll try to maintain the shape of the surface as I move this up. You can kind of notice it if I do it from the front. Oh, it's going a little haywire. Oh, I still have those selected, that's why. Well, let's just do it with... Yeah, sometimes surface slide is a little funny. But anyways, just I mean, maybe looking for little ways. When you have surface slide on, it's kind of like you can adjust kind of, and I say kind of carefully, you can kind of adjust the topology without changing the shape, but it just depending on how much um, detail you have on the surface. So, anyways, I might go through and look for anything that seems to be extremely pointy or extremely pinched or that kind of thing. Like I look at here, we've got, whoops, got some kind of situation going on here, which I think, might cause me some woe later. So I might, pull those out at least a little bit and see if I can get away with pulling these out a little bit. And, hopefully we're not losing the character by doing this too much. But I think that try and go in and get rid of some of those extremes, and then if it's not quite the shape you want, like if it kind of loses some of it, then after the smooth, go back and see if you can use the additional edges you have to add back in. But all around, just great. Oh, and I think also when you have maybe that smooth thing, and you might even add even after you smooth it. Like let's hit the smooth again. You have these extra edge loops here, and even then you might want to add even more to the lips just to get a little bit more of a top lip shape and a bottom lip shape. But yeah, you might have enough there to work with, but you might try to just get a little more shape here, because it's sort of like just rounds into the mouth, and there's not a real sense of a top of a lip here. So you might try to work on getting that edge to kind of pull out a little bit and getting a little bit more shape there. So anyways, great job on that. Next one is Christy, and she has an alien character. When I opened this, it exploded, and I tried it also in my 2016, and it still exploded. So nothing to fear, but it has its history on, and I've been finding, this shouldn't happen, but it is happening. So if you can just delete the history off, at least you can keep a version of your character with history, but the one you turn in, if you could do edit delete by type history before you turn it in, I think, and that'll solve this problem. So Christy, if you don't mind turning it in again, I can do a more thorough critique. We can look at the head. I think a lot of the same stuff I've been saying, is kind of going through. And again, part of the problem is I don't know if any of this is because the file's kind of corrupted, that I'm getting errors of why it looks like this. But same kind of thing where you look in rough mode, look for those intersecting surfaces, sort of clean that stuff up. And again, I can't talk intelligently about that, but looking at this image, it's looking pretty good. I think that little concerned about the arm proportions and that they might be a little challenging to use. Definitely want to get something that denotes a knee in there, so get a maybe some kind of kneecap and kind of a little bit more shape to the legs, and also get a sense of where the foot ends and where there's an ankle. I'll also try to some kind of change at the wrist as well. It looks like you have an elbow. I'd like to see that again in 3D. Um, Yeah, so kind of knee, and then maybe don't have the foot sort of swoop up like that. Maybe kind of have a little bit more of a distinct thing here, and do some more to separate the ankle out. But yeah, I like that. You really went with your design. Um, Hands might be a little challenging to use, but I think we'll be all right. But I think the arm is going to move pretty funny with that very short sort of bicep section and the longer forearm, so you might want to pull that out a little bit more. But or we could just try it and see how it works. It'll be all right. But yeah, sorry I can't do a work through or critique, but just delete history and turn it in again, and we'll take another one. Next on here is Joseph Gallup, a bodybuilder, and looks like we're at a kind of an early stage. There's uh, there's really a lot of issues going on with this one. I don't know if that's another one that problems happen because the history was not deleted first. I'm guessing it is. So if this is not what it looked like to you, turn it in again after deleting history. But I think that either way, where it is right now, it's it looks to me like you're not following the videos very closely. So I think I would actually just start over, because this is going to be hard to it'll be harder to fix this one than it would be to just start from scratch again. So I think that sometimes feels like a bit of a setback, and I suppose in a way it is, but you need a really good, strong foundation to kind of build on. So it's important to do things right from the beginning. And rather than trying to clean up something that's not working well, it's better to just start fresh again. And the thing that you usually find is that things go much better and much easier the second time around. So watch the videos, take your time, and start over on this one and give it another shot. So Everin, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, is next, and Everin's got a very different design, a really cool drawing, a little less humanoid, which is actually probably going to make it more challenging. But the thing is, you're still going to want to try to follow the modeling instructions as much as possible. With these multiple eyes, it's a little tricky, but you'd still want the kind of loops around the mouth. Let's take a look at the models. So right now, and again, I don't know if this is one where it's messing it up because the history is not deleted before you turn it in, but it's a bit of a mess right now. And one thing I would say is that don't try to put any of this sort of texture in the model. We'll kind of add that later as texture. Just keep to the kind of basic shapes, like it's a human. And the face, what I would say is pick your frankly, I would say just stick to two eyes. But if you are going to do multiple eyes, um, start out and start out with two eyes, and then let's add additional ones from there. How's that sound? So start with the two main eyes, following the instruction of the video. So this topology is not kind of what's taught in the video, and so it's really you don't have loops around the mouth, for example. Um, and you don't have like real loops around the eyes, and so this is not going to work well. So this is another one where yeah, again, you have these really deep indent here, and there's a lot of, and again, excuse me if this is just messed up because of this error we've been running into lately, but yeah, I would just say again, I would think take a step back and start over, because this is going to be hard to work with, and don't try to put this sort of rocky or whatever that is variation in the model. We can add that later in the texture, or put it in a bump map, or at the extreme a normal map or displacement map. And with these horns, don't try to extrude those from the model. Just make a separate horn and kind of stick it in the head, as a little separate object. It'll probably look better that way. What you can do is sort of when we get to that point is when you have a little more detail, you can pull a little kind of rounded mound kind of that lifts up a little bit towards the horn, but have the horn itself be a separate object. So yeah, it's not at a point where it's going to move forward in a strong and solid way. So rather than trying to salvage this model, I think, watch the videos again, try to really follow them closely and rebuild this. Now we have Rick Thayer's Forest Merchant model. Um, hi Rick. Yeah, so we've got a pretty sound looking model in topology here from a quick look. Um, and just take a look at the hands and fingers. Yeah, you're going to want to start. There's just the shape of the hand, at least the palm is a little bit odd. So, maybe start adding a couple more loops here. Watch out for this. So we can do that. The trick again I showed before. If you didn't see it, if you're skipping ahead in the video, I showed a trick where you can select all the faces that are more than four sides. So like this is one here is going to show up. But the trick is if we go to select using constraints. I'm going to right mouse click, go to face, choose order n-sided. N-sided, triangles are three-sided, quads are four-sided, n-sided are more than four sides, and do that on next selection. And then I'm just going to mark key select. So now it's going to show me all the faces that have more than four sides, and for those faces you'll want to do something about it. Generally you don't want faces that are more than four sides, and this kind of helps you find those. So yeah, look for ways to split them. I mean, at some point you're probably in with some triangles somewhere. I can do reset, disable all, otherwise it's going to mess up my selection later. But yeah, we don't want those five sides. So I might just, let's turn on right mouse click edge, let's turn on symmetry and multi-cut, and maybe do something like that. And so yes, we have a triangle here, but unless I go through a lot of kind of a lot of effort, you can have a triangle somewhere. So yeah, take a look at the topology, see if you like it. It's okay. You can sort of move where the triangles end up being if you want. But it's like if I want to sort of continue this kind of roundness here, I can do stuff like this. I can put that here, right? And now I'm going to switch to Q for selection. I can take this, Control Delete, and see now how I'm starting to get this a little bit more of this flow kind of around the belly. I kind of like that a little bit better than what I had. So you can do stuff like that, essentially moving where the triangles are. Just seeing if there's anywhere else I want to do that. So yeah, and like in rough mode, just look for anything that's kind of looks like it's pulled to the extreme, like this shape here. So yeah, see how that, I'm going to right mouse click vertex, select that guy, and then see how that's pulled so far to get that shape. So anything you see pulled to that extreme, kind of shift that back a little bit. And if you need to add a little more detail to get the shape you want, go ahead and do that. But, I might give him a little more shoulder shape and, maybe pull up the armpits a little bit. And yeah, but again, be careful not to pull them before, look at it in rough mode. See, I'm already doing what I said not to do, so don't go too far in there. Oh, we've got something going on here. So I'm double clicking to get the whole edge loop here and kind of, let's pull that apart so that you don't have that going on. And yeah, I was saying, maybe add some, oh, what's going on there? I don't know why that, because it's ending in this triangle here. Yeah, you've got some little issues here on the hand, I think. Again, look for these very extreme shapes going on, but there's something right there. I guess it's just that it's just a really stretched out triangle. So and now we because these aren't all quads, then we're we're running into this. And this is, again, these five-sided faces, so we've got an in triangles somewhere. You have them ending in triangles at the wrist. I probably would not do that. I would probably look to, terminate them elsewhere. Control delete, and you know, I don't know, maybe something like this. Like take that, and you could have it terminate here, for example. Whoops, there we go. And does that? Oh, see, we've got another triangle there. So let's see if I can get rid of that. Well, yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll take a couple steps back here. So, yeah, actually that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's a five-sided face now. So just delete out another edge, see what happens to us. So that's a little bit of a mess now, but it'll let me get, there's still something not. Oh yeah, no, there we're going now. So now, no, we're not. Are we going all the way around? No, we are not. Yeah, it's not happy with this, but I think if I kind of manually complete that. So now, yeah, see this stuff in between now is they're so I can start to add that, and then maybe I'll go in and kind of fix this stuff now that I've got that going around, and not loving these star kind of shapes here, but just look for the really kind of pinched and stretched out stuff and try to resolve it a little bit at a time. But I want to be able to add those loops, especially around the wrist, to get some extra detail, and then start moving points around to get some shape. And you're going to want to, whoops, let's go back to selection, kind of move stuff like this in and up. Start to get a little bit more of a hand-like shape. Maybe these guys can move down some, get more of the kind of the ball of the hand, and you want to add some, maybe another edge loop here to get knuckles, and yeah, you're going to want to sort of terminate these guys, somewhere. So that's a really simple way to do it, but so that you don't get those five-sided faces, etc. Anyways, what else? Yeah, really looking like the. Let's get out of this. Yeah, the lips are. Yeah, so again, we have some of these weird things going on here. Yeah, there's a bit of cleanup to do around here. Got some extra verse here, and pull this stuff apart. Don't know how this happened, or hopefully I didn't do this. But yeah, look for these kind of real extreme. Like that's another, to me, very extreme. Let's select it. There we go. Kind of, it's just pulled too far to make that shape that you've made. Yeah, and look at this one where it's just pulled way back, and maybe it got you the shape in that moment, but that's just not good topology to have things all kind of intersecting there. So yeah, and this something's pulled way in there. This becomes a bit of a web. Yeah, you've got these really pinched kind of things going on here, and that's not great topology. So look to kind of pull that stuff apart a little bit. Yeah, oh wow, they crisscross here even. That is not going to be good. No. Let me just shift select to toggle the selection. Okay, so I'm really wow, what is going on here? Boy, that is a little bit tangled up. A little tricky to. Let me just double check that I didn't mess that up somehow. Was that like that when I came in? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the mouth is kind of a mess. I mean, don't know. how you got it to that point, and yeah, you have like a many-sided face over here. Oops, we should do the symmetry thing. So that's going to be hard to clean up. It's kind of a situation where I tend to want to start getting rid of stuff. So I can control right mouse click and go two faces and then two faces. And I mean, if I can't figure out how to clean it up, I find myself wanting to just delete stuff until I get to a point where I feel like I can sort out what's going on. It's just everything's pulled to this such an extreme, that it's hard. So maybe if we can get things to where they're a little bit more normal of a shape, and then kind of get the basic. Yeah, we still have this crazy crisscross thing here, which I don't even like. It's not like sort of mind bending what's going on there, because it seems like if I go like that, then I think it's that these are also crisscrossed too. This one. Aha. Okay, that's starting to pull it apart. So maybe I didn't need to actually delete all that stuff. I just needed to untangle those two and start. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, so yeah, it's just, this is, I guess, sort of a hazard of doing this stuff live like this, is that I'm kind of discovering what's going on with your models as I go. So is it those? Yeah, those. And then oops, no, maybe something like that. Something like that. Anyways, yeah, it's get this stuff, pull this apart, get rid of these real extreme sort of shapes. And I know, I'm losing some of the shape and character of this, but that's not how you want to get that shape and character, is by pulling these to the extreme. Like, get a little closer, and then if it's not, if you have to pull it that far to get to that shape, then you probably need to add more details. So anyways, you're starting to see how I'm, getting this a little bit more sensible, and then, start adding detail. You can add more loops if you need, and so forth. So, but all that said, good character. I guess this is kind of an interesting cartoony look. These curved legs. I think I don't know. It seems a little tricky, but either way, let's get more of a make some loops around the knee and get a little bit more of a sense of both the front and back of the knee. Where if you should know where it is. It should be anatomically obvious. Keep in mind, if you want these really relatively short arms for this character, here's a kind of a quick way. I'm going to select that, E for rotate, hold down D, move the pivot point, and this gives you an idea of what the character can do. So, for example, like, could he scratch his nose? I guess he could. Probably. Yeah. So they're pretty short arms, but he can touch his head. I guess they're long enough. Just for this big body and these short arms, you might run straight. But again, get a little bit more of a sense of an elbow on, both the divot on the front and the elbow on the back, and the fingers could use a little bit more shape. They look a little kind of thin from this side. I think they could be a little wider given the rest of his body. But yeah, overall, it's a cute looking character. Look, probably add some loop or two on his back, get some more detail there. Where you see these very elongated faces that usually, good topology. A simple way of thinking about it is like, all the faces are somewhat the same size. So that's an oversimplification, but when you see extremes, like extremely long faces or extremely pinched faces, that should be kind of a warning sign to you. Here we have Josh Wilson, so it sounds like he's done sort of a base character, and then he's going to add the kind of design stuff later, which I think is actually a fine way to go. Looks like most of the topology is looking okay. What the real problem, area you need to work on here is you're going to have to attach this head, so you're going to have to, delete these faces off and kind of open that up and delete the faces off there, and then your choice is, maybe you could do a combination. Like if you terminate some of these into triangles, kind of down here before they hit the neck. So what do I mean by that is like, you always want to keep that center line, but let's say you want to get rid of this guy, so I can, and I'll do this same on both sides, Control Delete, right? But now I have this is this face here that's a five-sided face. I don't like that, so I need to terminate these in triangles. So actually, let's turn on symmetry if that's working. Good, multi-cut. So I can take this and go here. And it's almost like I'm moving that edge over there. Now I can grab this edge and delete it. And then it's just one less thing to deal with as I hook this up. So I still have too many here, but now I might say, oh, well, you know what? I could probably use maybe a little more detail on my model. So I can go to multi-cut and why is symmetry? Oh, this is a separate model, that's why. Symmetry, multi-cut. Nope. Sorry, let's try again. Right mouse click edge. Symmetry. I'm getting an error. Bummer. So is something, nothing's visibly not symmetrical to me, but it's saying it's not symmetrical. So let's just remirror this. So just very carefully select one half of the model, delete. And that's, you really should be building this along the origin, this center black line, and you kind of shift it over, if you see that. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, where's the, oh, that looks like it's right on the center, which is good. So if I do this and go to the, right view, if I hold down point snap, yeah, so I constrained it to that one axis by clicking it and then held down X and middle mouse drag and it snapped to the middle, and I can see that that's been moved. Which way was that moved? Oh, that was moved back to 0. Oh, okay, so it was in the middle before, but then it got moved. So, I didn't realize you'll have to replace those eyeballs. I'll let you do that later. That's not too difficult. So anyways, let's mirror this guy again. Let's see if the mirror thing is going to work for us. Mirror geometry options. This is the positive Z direction. That's the negative Z direction. So negative Z, merge with the original, merge vertices. Hopefully nothing weird happens. That looks pretty good. Okay, so now all that was to get our mirror to work again. Symmetry, I mean. And was that, did that give me an error? No error. So, oh yeah. So what I was saying was, we're trying to match the neck to the body, so you have those extra things. So I could do more kind of merging here, or I could say, oh, maybe I could use some more detail on the back. So then I could say, oh, and then I can kind of, after anytime you add an edge loop, what I suggest is you kind of, just shift the points around to kind of shape that into the body. But then, then you're kind of matching those. So again, the point is, terminate and then when you need to, and then and then get these to be the same number of edges. So you might have to terminate another edge here and so forth, or add more to the body, whichever seems like the better way to go at that point. And then merge the two. Oh yeah, don't forget to delete those faces off the bottom, delete those off here, get the head in position, combine mesh, and then select the two verts and then merge. Usually I would use merge components to center, and so combine first and then merge to center. So I'm not going to do all of that right now, but just to give you the steps. Yeah, but I think you've got the edge loops around the mouth. That's looking good. That's working. Got the ones around the eyes. Good. Yeah, so I think now it's about kind of shaping these different things, adding detail and adding more character to it. But you have a pretty sound model to start with, which is great. You could, I don't know, once you get the head on and get that all attached, you could keep this as like a template character, and then you could build many characters from it. You got some extra at the knees, that's good, some clear ankles, some clear elbows, so it's got a lot of the stuff. Maybe I think that you're lacking much of a kind of a butt shape, so I might kind of work on this area a little bit more. It's kind of a weird shape there, so try to get more of a butt shape there. But besides that, yeah, good work on that. So now we've got Christian, hello Christian, and this is looking pretty good. Yeah, the head looks a little disproportionately big. Unfortunately, this is another one where I opened it and it went completely haywire. And obviously I know your model doesn't look like that, but you can see the histories on here. So if before you turn in the version you can turn in, if you do edit delete by type history, that will prevent that from happening. It looks like it sort of exploded. Not your fault, but it looks like the face looks okay, so let's take a look at that. And yeah, I mean, it looks sort of like you're saying a little generic, but it's a good start. I would, again, as I've mentioned on a few other of these, let's get rid of any of these overlapping faces, so that anything that's pulled to that extreme, let's pull that apart. But yeah, it's a good start from what I can tell, and keep going. So Lupita turned in her model, and again, we're running into this issue over and over again, and not your fault, and nobody's fault here, but again, it's sort of exploding on me. So if you could, before you see the history still in there, so before you save the version of file you're going to turn in, just make sure you can actually do edit, delete all by type history, and that'll delete all the history out of the scene, and then turn it again. Obviously I can't intelligently critique this, and I know your model doesn't really look like that, but please turn it in again, and I'll give it a proper critique at that point. So we have James Henson, and so let's take a look. It's looking pretty good. Maybe a little more smooth than I would want it to be at this point, but here's a little trick I can show you guys. So if I go into the attribute editor and I click on polysmooth face, this could backfire, but I click on this tab polysmooth face, I can select that and then hit the delete key, and that takes me back to before he smoothed it. And because that I wouldn't smooth it at this point just yet. There's a few things I would fix before I smoothed it, but we can still see kind of the detail. The face is looking pretty good here. Got a lot of character to it. You've got your edge loops working. Probably wouldn't build so much character into the eyes. What I would do is sort of shape the eyes in a more neutral position, and then later we'll create what are called blend shapes, which are these sort of target shapes for the face where you can kind of add the poses, but generally you want your model to start in a very neutral pose. I get that he's a bodybuilder and has a thick neck, but it's looking a little too kind of like maybe thick, so maybe I would consider thinning that down a little bit. Again, as I've been mentioning a lot, look for these extreme kind of faces. Like those faces look really long, so I might look for an opportunity to, cut it, here. That goes around there, which is interesting. Oh yeah, all the way around. So I might give myself, just to split those in half so they're not so big. Um, and yeah, this kind of pinching at the back thing, this is the kind of thing, when again, when you're looking at good topology, a simple way to think of it is if the faces are roughly equal size. And here we have a much bigger face and then a much more narrow small face. So that's very uneven topology, and so it's not great. So what I would tend to do is take some of those out um, now, and so hopefully we don't lose too much of the character of this guy by taking some of these out. See, that's going to mess up his face if I take those out. So I think maybe what you ran into is that going to mess him up if I take those out? Let's see, Control, Delete. And so here what I might do actually is I'm going to do Shift double click, and that should select that whole row, and then move these guys out, and now, maybe you lost some of the shape you liked in his back, but then after you smooth it, then maybe you can get some of that shape back. But see how much more even the topology is now? Um, so kind of be looking for that stuff, and again, I'm concerned about sort of this extreme stuff here. Maybe we can um, fix that a little bit. But yeah, face looks really good. Keep it a little bit more neutral expression. Um, Body's looking good. Look for other areas. Clearly, there's some anatomy going on here. His torso looks a little bit long compared to his legs to me. You could you could do something like this. Like, let's get that kind of lined up there, and maybe, and then I'll take this, shift click that, shift double click to get that row, and kind of shift click, shift double click, and then take the whole thing and move them down, something like that. Oops. Let's make sure we get those. Control Shift will select everything together, move them back down together. Okay. Anyways, that was a little bit better to me. But yeah, really, it's a good sound model. Oh, I think looking like you need some real work on the fingers actually here. So spend some time kind of straightening those out and shaping them a little bit better. It's possible I messed them up when I got rid of the smooth. We can take a look at that. But yeah, that really needs some work. They get too thin and pointy at the end. Let's just look back at your original file just in case I somehow messed those up myself. Oops. Yeah, they're kind of pointy and odd looking. So yeah, spend a little more time on the hand and the shape of the fingers and the palm and those kinds of things. But overall, this is a really good start. You can even see here you're getting that kind of weird pinching there, so clean that up. But yeah, good work on that. So hey everyone, that's assignment 4. Thanks for watching. I hope you watched the whole thing, and if not, hope you got something good out of it. But talk to you guys soon.